when you invest $9 million in your attack and you bring in 2 new designated players and a new TAM player, I expect that those are the level of players that should be able to put results on the field relatively soon.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of No Other Pod.
Yeah.
I'm Jimmy, along with my good buddy Daniel Kooser. Dan, how's it going? How you feeling?
We made it, dude. We made it to another week of fun sporting KC soccer. Very excited to be here and talk about all things sporting. No, I'm pissed to be here, bro. I'm mad. I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. I'm tired of talking about losses all the time. We've been losing games since, god dang, almost since your birthday last year.
Say,
you know what I mean?
I think it's 9 straight competitive losses for Sporting Kansas City.
Wild time.
To let
Not having fun, but glad we're going through rebuild. Make sure to remind us that it's a rebuild. I can't be patient. I don't know what to do. I'm not. I don't know, bro. A lot of people are angry too. It's not just me.
I was going to say, here's the thing. I think I totally get it. And I think you are a representative voice of a lot of people in the fan base. So I do not think you are alone. And I don't necessarily entirely disagree with you either, for what it's worth. And we'll talk about it. But yeah, it's, I had said last week that it was important for Sporting to come out and have a solid showing against San Jose in the home opener. And we'll get to that after we talk about the Miami game, which was also a loss. But I mean, that didn't happen. So
I don't want to talk about it. I want to talk about anything else. I want to go back to 2020 when we didn't have to talk about soccer. Yeah. Like, I want to talk about anything else. How about Elimination Chamber? Let's talk about how my childhood hero John Cena is now a bad guy. Like, let's talk about that.
So
just a wild time.
I watched it. I actually couldn't sleep after the Sporting game, so I got home and I watched the whole thing. When I got home, I went to bed at like 3 a.m. But I am not as much of a wrestling historian as you are. I will say, you know a lot more about it than I do. I've watched it consistently for the last year or so, and I've watched it, sporadically since the pandemic, and then obviously as a child. So I know John Cena. I didn't realize, I guess, that like he's literally never had a heel run. This is like the first time in his career.
He has the record for like most Make-A-Wish Foundation wishes granted.
I have seen that where I was like, a lot of people being like, how committed is he? Is he going to stop doing the Make-A-Wish? Like, is he committed to kayfabe? Like, what are we doing here?
They just filed a trademark for the term Break-A-Wish.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was interesting. There's some history, like bad blood in the storyline between The Rock and John Cena, right? Like they had a rivalry. Is that right?
A little thing. Yeah. A short one.
It was, I mean, dude, when spoiler alert, obviously, I guess it's too late for that if you haven't watched Elimination Chamber. But I mean, this broke out of wrestling circles. This made it onto like sports radio. This was ESPN. This was a big deal. But when the whole bit was weird with The Rock being like, I want your soul, and it's all weird. But
very Mortal Kombat like.
I got pretty hyped when Cody Rhodes was out there and with his whole chest said, "Hey Rock, go fuck yourself." I was like, ooh, this is not the PG American Nightmare. This is and John Cena's in the background getting all hyped and everything, and then the Cena face change. And I was like, oh no.
And then you get one of these.
The weird 2 fingers.
weird one finger throat slit that turns into 2, and he goes.
I saw one of my friends was like, why can't The Rock do anything normally? Like,
that was dumb as hell.
Everything he does, he puts this weird little like flare on, and you can't tell if he's like trying to like hint at something coming later or if he's just weird as hell.
It's just weird.
Because this happened before Mania last year when he put up the 1 for the Bloodline, except he did the L, and people were like, oh, he's signaling loser, like Roman's going to be a loser. And it's like, no, he just doesn't know how to do it.
Everything matters. I don't sell it short. Everything counts, dude. Everything's done for a reason. It's very it's very meticulous, you know.
My favorite thing, or one of my favorite things about like modern wrestling though, is how they use social media to like add little like side jokes that like don't really further the story a lot, if you will, but add little like humor for people who are paying attention. And like, obviously, if you're a wrestling fan, you know that like R-Truth, even though he's almost 10 years older in real life than John Cena, like his whole thing is like, John Cena's my childhood hero. And I loved when Cody Rhodes' wife tweeted out, John Cena sucks, and R-Truth just being like, we can't jump to conclusions. Like, we have to. And he's like, this is AI generated.
He's going through the 5 stages of grief right now.
Yeah.
That's why.
It's so funny to me. But it was good. It's a good chamber. I enjoyed it.
If y'all aren't paying attention to wrestling, I don't know what to tell you. It is cinematic, my friend.
I mean, some of the stuff that they're pulling out, it's intense. That Sami Zayn Kevin Owens match, that was painful.
I know.
Did not look good. So
I'm mad that I missed it live for a shitty Sporting KC game. That's what I'm most upset about. I'm like, I could have been at home watching this live.
Yeah, you braved not just coming to a Sporting KC game to miss Elimination Chamber, but like post-surgery, having to walk in the cold. And I think you said that was the farthest you'd walked since surgery.
Probably. I thought I'd be fine. 2 weeks in, they say you could transition to canes. But if you are, that's one hip. You know what I mean? But with 2, it's like you got to stay on that walker.
I'm such a fatty. You said you could transition to canes. And my first thought was like chicken strips.
You wanted some fucking chicken. Of course you did. Well, I can't go to cane because I have a walker. You just can't have canes. So, but maybe my goal is to be off the walker and be walking at the KC Current season opener. So
there you go.
We'll see what happens. It's pretty wild. But I was miserable. That was a miserable night. It was quite chilly. Had the ADA seating going on, and I don't know. It was sore night.
So tell me, we'll talk about the game itself, I guess. But like this, I've never had an experience with like the ADA seating. So like it looked like it was basically just some folding chairs on the concourse. Is that essentially what it was?
They weren't hard chairs or anything. It was like little mesh seating. It's probably pretty nice in the summertime. But
that's true.
It was like on the east side, east stand there, and just at the top, little roped off section all to yourself, man. Pretty fun.
Okay, I'm surprised. Do they offer like? Had you requested it, or would they like? I don't know if it was like it would have been too far for you to walk. Obviously, you were fine. You had the walker. It's probably part of your recovery to do some form of walking. But like, do they have like golf carts or something to help get people around if they can't get there? Do you know?
I wonder if they have wheelchairs or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Walking back, I was like, kind of wish I had a wheelchair. Like that's where I was. It was wild, but we had the handicap parking, which is just right across from that gate, the northwest gate right there.
A pretty good little walk from where you were seated, though.
Little bit of a jaunt, but man, I've been feeling good. Been doing all my exercises and stuff, so
that's
getting by.
Well, I'm glad it worked out that you had it and you didn't have to figure out how to get a walker down a bunch of stairs.
Yeah, that would have sucked.
Yeah, that would not have been fun. Let's talk briefly before we get to our first break here in a handful of minutes. Let's talk a little bit about this Inter Miami game, as much as I may not want to. I don't want to say I was like cautiously optimistic because I fully expected Sporting to lose this game in Miami, but after the way they played Messi in the first leg in Kansas City, there were signs of like, okay, there are things to work on, but what was the hardest thing to tell was like, okay, how much did that have to do with the product on the field and how much did that have to do with it was negative 12 degrees? And it became pretty clear pretty quick when they were down in Fort Lauderdale that this was essentially Miami's game. And what's crazy is at one point through this game, after they had their third goal, they had 4 shots in total through the first 2 games and 4 goals. Like, it just unbelievable.
Scoring on every shot.
And I don't think that, I had an interaction with Mike Kuhn on Blue Sky, and he was like, normally you'd point fingers to the goalkeeper if that's the case because you figure you're letting everything in. I don't think these were Pulscamp's faults, at least not on all of them. We'll talk San Jose. We'll talk some of the other stuff separately because that's a different story. But if you leave Lionel Messi wide open in the box with nobody within 10 yards of him, what's anybody supposed to do?
Don't even get me started, dude. I just want to rip up, like, I want to rip into Volader a little bit. He just makes some mistakes and like loses his man occasionally, and I just can't stand that. I don't know what's going on, and I think Pulskamp does deserve a little criticism here. I mean, especially going to the San Jose game as well. Like it's letting in some pretty, I don't know, maybe positioning's off or something. It's just not looking like it's not Tim Melia, right? It is what it is.
Sure. Well, what I'll say, the first goal against Miami, I say this is largely on Jake Davis and Robert Voloder, I think. I mean, Jake kind of gets torched by Jordi Alba down the left side, and Jordi Alba's 10 years at least older than Jake Davis, and so he gets a wide open cross, and then there is a wide open Lionel Messi. Nobody's with him, and
That's insane.
It is what it is, and it just he fires a laser. I mean, it was on SportsCenter Top 10 because it's Lionel Messi, and he chests it down, and then first time off the hop, it is what it is. It's not good. So that opened the floodgates, and then there were a couple of actually, I said Jordi Alba. I think Jordi Alba actually was the second goal where he torched Jake Davis. Either way, Jake got torched a couple times, and Voloder on the second goal just wide open in front of the net, loses his man, and that's tapped in. So those first two goals, I'm not sure there's much Pulskamp can really do. And then unfortunately it went to the third goal right before halftime. This one you could maybe put on Pulskamp a little bit more. He could have come out a little bit more. He could have positioned himself. But this is the one where Luis Suarez scored. Voloder sort of jumped up. Feels like he lost the ball in the air, and old ass Luis Suarez turns him around. Memo pulled one back in the 63rd minute, but we all knew that wasn't going to be enough, and it ends on aggregate 4-1, and Miami moves on, and Sporting are out now. And now at that time, it was 33 games left in the season. No other side competitions. Only
nothing else to worry about.
Season.
Yes. It's cool to see Memo get a goal, I guess. Our first team goal, our first goal of 2025, and it not MLS play, but it is what it is. So I'm glad to be done with that, man. We knew it was bad facing Miami first off. Like it didn't feel good. We're like, okay, we're in trouble here.
Yeah, for sure. It was a bummer. I think it's unfortunate that Sporting KC going into a rebuild year had to start with non-MLS games against a team like Miami, because there already was going to be very little room for error of any sort. And we've been in this situation for a couple years now where Sporting just haven't been good. They've been playing subpar soccer. And they talked about the rebuild, and they said it's going to be, you got to be patient. It's going to be a while, 3 windows. And then they get some of these offensive players. I think it would have gone a long way for fans if they could have started off being more competitive in their first few games. And I think it sucks that they had to face Miami in the first 2, but then that's why San Jose was your get right chance at home. Austin, you couldn't do it on the road. Okay, whatever. That's hard. You haven't ever scored points in Austin. San Jose was your get right. And it didn't work there either. So, it's a real bummer because like I said, I don't think you're alone at all in starting to lose patience.
When do we start talking about Vermees's job again? I mean, there's people who haven't stopped.
Well, that's
does that go up again?
It's not going to happen. I don't know how to tell people any other way. They're going to give him time through this rebuild. They've laid all the groundwork for that. They're going to give him 3 windows.
And you know how nuts that is? Coaches don't get that courtesy anywhere.
Sure, agreed. But I do think the difference is, and I'm going to sound more of a Peter Vermees apologist, I think, especially relative to other people than maybe I actually am.
We're going to vomit.
No, but I mean, I think there were real systemic issues with how the club was run, starting with ownership. And I think, I'm not saying that Peter Vermees is blameless, but I know for a fact that there were players that tried to get brought in where deals were agreed to, fees were agreed to, personal terms were agreed to, and then ownership pulled the plug last minute. So like it's not and I've talked about that like last year too. It's not a way to run a team. You're not setting your coach or technical director up for success. Now, should Peter have realized sooner that I cannot do both the job of coach and sporting director at the same time sooner than he did? 100%. I think that's a conversation a bunch of us have been having for the better part of 5 years now. And it only took until halfway through last season where they finally got that job split off. So, but that's why I just realistically don't think he's going to be on a hot seat in terms of ownership, is because they have the excuses, if you will, of, well, we just started putting more money in. We just hired a new sporting director. We just got rid of these people. And I think it's going to buy him more time.
So he's got dirt on somebody, doesn't he?
You're not the only one that says that. But let's take a break here, and then we'll come back and we'll talk San Jose.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story. Like Bryan Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Bryan Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner impossible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
So, I guess we're back to talk more soccer, and I'm not happy, bud. I don't want to keep doing this week after week. Do you know how boring this is getting? Do you know how awful this is for people to tune in and listen to? Because first of all, I got to thank people that stopped us when they saw us chatting on the concourse. Christy, I believe. I didn't catch the other person's name, but these two lovely women were nice enough to tell us they enjoy what we're doing. Mm-hmm. Told me to get well soon and all that stuff. So it was very.
And another guy came by and gave us fist bumps.
Yep, that was nice to meet people. That was cool. Yeah.
So people
didn't know we were doing a meet and greet, but it was nice.
We were. No, people listen. It does suck when the team isn't winning. It's a lot more fun to talk about teams when they're winning. There's a lot more.
What does that even feel like? It's been 19 years.
It has been 84 years. Yeah. So I listen. I get it. I'm frustrated too. What I'm honestly most frustrated about, isn't even so much the fact that we haven't won. It's that I expected it to take time for new people to sort of get integrated and build that chemistry and all that stuff. But I also expected there to be more than, one goal through the first 2 MLS games and 2 goals through the first 4 competitive games. Like that, when you invest $9 million in your attack and you bring in 2 new designated players and a new TAM player, I expect that those are the level of players that should be able to put results on the field relatively soon, even if they're not firing at full capacity, even if they're not fully 90 minutes fit, even if they don't have chemistry together yet. Although I would say Manu and Shapi have chemistry from playing together over in Greece. They were literally on the same team.
Does that show on the field, you think?
I think there are moments where I think that there are moments where the attack looks like we are moving the ball around better in more dangerous ways than we did with Polito or last year. I think Jovic has some good ideas. I think Manu Garcia, there is a lot of potential bright spots we're seeing from him. I think Tommy feels like he's pressing a little too hard at times, especially in the Austin game. It felt like he was like, I got to make something happen, and it just was, he was being Tommy.
Will you not watch Eric Tommy? Because he's playing winger now, playing on the wing, and whenever he takes the ball in, dude, like 9 times out of 10, it just gets taken away.
Yeah,
he'll dribble right at somebody, and they're just like, "I'll take that." Way too easy.
He presses, and he wants to make something happen. He's confident, and he did this last year, and Peter talked about it in the midfield. It's like sometimes he tries to make too much happen himself. It's going to take time, I think, for him to learn that, like, I got some talented players around me now. And honestly, there were times where it was Manu, Shapi, and Jolic who they were looking like the most dynamic of the three, the most dynamic three of the attacking players on the field. And so I think it'll take some time. But like I said last week, there are also numerous examples of new players across the league who are scoring goals in their first game and their second game. It shouldn't, and Jolic in particular. He got the first penalty conversion for Sporting KC, I think, in more than a season. I don't think we had one all of last year, which is wild.
That was nice. Good little penalty, but still, it's like first goal 2025 in MLS play. That's fine, but I want to see a regular goal, man, and like the run of play of things.
I 100% agree. That's the part that is most concerning to me. And again, it's the message that I heard not just from Peter, because Peter is always going to say it, but even the players, Jolic or whatnot, who were frustrated, openly frustrated. And he was like, we played better when they had 11 people on the field than when they had 10, which is true.
You watched the highlights at all? Because that shit was like back and forth, all like 5-6 minutes of highlights of the first half. And then it just like skipped to the final whistle because the second half was that uneventful.
I had a fear when they went down a man, because this is something that is sort of like notorious that Sporting KC does. Well, there were a couple notorious Sporting KC things that happened in this game. The first was giving up a goal 3 minutes into the game, where it's like, okay, you give up a goal to Arango, where again the defense just falls apart. Jake Davis, Fernandez, they all just make a mess of it, and Pulskamp tries to come out. And for this one, I don't know how much there's for Pulskamp to do to stop it, but the defense was just in absolute shambles, and that can't happen. So that sucked.
Goal scored on us was shambles.
Yeah, no, you're right. It was 3-0. You go down already. It's awful, and then not even to the 20th minute, in the 19th minute.
You mean 2-0? What'd you say?
1-0. Sorry.
Okay.
I had Miami on my brain.
Yeah, you said 3-0. I'm like, well, Miami did spank us, yeah.
Miami got up 3-0.
Then corner kick in that 20th minute or whatever.
Yeah,
made it
20th minute corner kick. And this is the one where 100%, this is, 97%, this is on Pulskamp.
How is he not punching that out?
You
see him kind of like whiff at it. I'm like, it's like my dog. It's like my dog who tries to catch tennis balls. And I'm like, you're never going to catch it. Why are you doing that?
He needs to, goalkeepers are generally pretty protected in the box on corner kicks. That's a case where he needs to use his body size and make sure that his space is known and say, hey, I'm the keeper. This is my box. I'm going to catch it. I'm going to punch it. I'm going to do something and get that ball out of there. Because then it falls, bounces around, and Joseph Martinez is there for a tap in, and that was it.
I do want to say something. San Jose is going to be a decent team this year. Like, they're at the top of the standings right now, for God's sakes. Like, they are 2-0. So it's like, I think they will be good. They're doing a little rebuild situation, although I think their rebuild is going to go in a hell lot better than ours is.
So I saw an interesting conversation about this on the Sporting KC Reddit that I actually thought was there were valid points on both sides, because someone pointed out, they're like, well, we've been hearing patience. Well, San Jose, they underwent a rebuild in a single window, and they just dominated us essentially. Yeah. And they've been able to do it, and they're off to a way better start. And someone made a point that I think is interesting, that I think we don't know the answer to yet, which was San Jose. The way Bruce Arena did it is he brought in a bunch of players that he had from his New England roster. So a number of these players have played together before. And then he got established MLS players who are probably closer to the back half of their career, Joseph Martinez, Chicho Arango, who are good, who can step in, know the league, and score immediately. But they're not going to be there for 4, 5, 6 years. So it's sort of right now, clearly San Jose chose the more effective short-term strategy. Time will tell if it's sustainable. It certainly feels a lot better right now to be in San Jose's position than it does to be in Sporting KC's position, because Sporting KC the only silver lining, if there is one for fans, is you're kind of banking on that. Well, this is the long term. We're going to set ourselves up for more sustainable success. But
Okay.
San Jose, the people aren't wrong in pointing out that through the first 2 games, which small sample size, 2 games, but through the first 2 games, San Jose looks like they're going in a much more positive direction than Sporting as a whole.
Yes, because they're doing a win now mentality. They're like, we're going to be a good team this year. And we're like, hey, we're looking down the road. We're going to be a good team like later. And it's like, well, how does that get butts and seats? Tell me why people want to come watch your little science experiment and your little academy experiment. Why would they want to show up for that?
Sure. Yeah, there is if Sporting would have asked this of fans 2 years ago, and that's a hard thing to recognize as it's happening, but let's say, Bill Belichick was notorious for getting rid of players sort of before they wore out their welcome. He would rather get rid of a player too early than too late. He tried to get rid of Tom Brady 2-3 years before he even did. If Peter Vermees would have been able to look at the roster 2 years ago and say, with this core, we haven't been able to get over the final hump. As much as it sucks, I think we got to start a rebuild. And you would have asked for patience 2 years ago from the fans. I think it would have been a much different scenario. It is very, very difficult to ask a fan base for up to 2 more years of patience after you've already gone through 2 years of subpar results. So, because at that point, you're basically saying, hey, spend 4 years of your hard-earned money hoping that when we get to the end of this, we'll be in the right spot. And there's a lot of fans who just don't trust that we will be anymore. That's a big ask.
To quote my friend Chip, it's the same deal as last year. We got a lot of new ingredients, but no new recipes.
Yeah, at least not yet.
And same old shit, dude. Same stuff we're seeing on the field, really.
The hard thing is, and again, people don't necessarily want to hear it, but like the nature of MLS rosters is you can't get rid of everybody and bring in a whole new roster in a single year. I'm surprised how much they were able to turn over in the attack, honestly, because of the Polito move. Now they have to turn over the defense after this year. And so the only hope, before the season, I was trying to be optimistic about the defense can get their mental stuff together and not allow stupid set piece goals. And the offense looks like maybe it'll be better. They could challenge for a 6-7 spot in the West. There's nothing they've shown me through the first 2 games that gives me hope that this is challenging for a playoff team. So at this point, best case scenario, given what we've seen through two games, but it's not just 2 games. This is a continuation of the trend from last year. Is that okay? The defense is the defense. We know they're going to let in a lot of goals. We might steal some games 4-3 here. They might get an occasional bunker down where they can shut out a game, but this is not going to be a good defense. And we hope that they hit on defensive signings next year when they rebuild the defense. But again, it's a lot. That's a big ask of fans. That's a lot of hope. And when you've been losing for a couple of years like this, it's tough to do that. So
not very fun, man. Now, in hindsight, it going against a team with 10 men who has the lead in the game, they don't need another goal. They're going to sit back and they're going to make it extremely difficult for us. I get it. That sucks. It happens all the time. Now, if San Jose needed a goal, then they would have been pushing a little more, and we probably could have taken advantage. So it's tough, man. But no one likes to see a loss like this. But I'm telling you, the last 30 minutes of that second half was hilarious. It was just non-existent. Nothing was working. I think Manu passed. I think he hit a cross to the opposite side of the field to nobody.
He thought he saw somebody, and there was
somebody
there.
It just goes right out of bounds, and everyone's like, "What just happened?"
Yeah.
And he puts his hands up like, "I'm sorry," and we're like, "Yeah, I guess you are."
I mean, Jovic got his penalty kick conversion in the game. That was the only thing that was a positive.
Almost got that saved.
Well, I do actually want to point, yes, Daniel, the San Jose goalkeeper, he guessed the right way, but it was a good enough kick with enough power, with enough pace, with enough placement that he still scored. So that
he did the old finger guns, like he's on a team that's worth a shit. You know what I mean?
I am not at all worried about his ability to convert penalties. I think we have a penalty taker who I trust.
For sure.
It's the rest of it that I'm skeptical of.
A little scary. And you know what? You're never going to get out of a game without a Jake Davis yellow card. It just is what it is, baby. Jake Davis, he stays angry.
It's yeah. I mean, there were a lot of yellow cards in that game. Sporting had a lot of yellow cards in the first two games.
Bartlett got one too. I thought it was Jake Davis at first. I was like, oh no, it's the other Jake. That's fun.
Yeah, Jake and other Jake.
Jake's be Jaking.
We're gonna take a second break here. When we come back, I got a couple more things I want to talk about, and we'll look to DC this upcoming weekend. But we'll be right back.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
You ready for the weekly chip shot?
Give it to me.
The old Chip's Corner, Chip the Keeper of Stats.
I was gonna say we changed the name of it.
Sure did, yeah. So Chip hit me up today. He said, another game and another mild stinker. Let's see what's up. For the first time since 2009 and the first time since we've been sporting Kansas City, we've lost our first two regular season games. Possession was 68% Sporting. Passing accuracy was at 84% with over twice the number of passes compared to San Jose. 14 shots with only 2 put on frame, though, and those were from Basong and Leibold. PK shots are categorized differently. One of the surprising things to me is SKC's 57 passes in the final third during that game. And of those 57 passes into the final third, 21 of them were from defense pushing up, 32 were from midfielders, and only 4 were from the forwards. This is compared to San Jose with only 11 passes in the final third, a third of which were from attackers, none from defense, and 2 goals to show for it. The offense feels like we're laying siege to a fort and hoping the city defenses will break out more in a eventually the infrastructure will crumble way rather than we're actively breaking the defense. SKC is now in third for disciplinary points, though, trailing San Jose and Portland by 1 point. Jake Davis and Radia both have 2 yellows so far. As said before, accumulation is only going to hurt us. SKC were up a man for almost 40 minutes, so it would make sense that we'd be in the final third for that long, but to have that little to show for it is rough. Playing up a man, showing a 1.7 XG compared to San Jose's 1.1 XG, and losing on that flip makes me want to see more than crosses to the box. Time of possession in San Jose's half was extremely high, but we let them set up and turtle their defenses. There's still plenty of season left, but the overall stats and tactics we're seeing this year isn't markedly different from last year or the many years before. Before we know it, we'll be face-to-face with we need X number of points and Y number of games in order to make the playoffs. This next weekend is at DC, who has drawn both their first 2 games, so we'll see what we can do there.
Yeah, it's
Thanks, Chip.
He hits the nail on the head for just about everything. I mean,
Dude knows his shit.
There's some stats that show we should have had it, but when a team goes down a man on the road and they have a lead, they bunker in, and it gets very difficult to break them down. But good teams figure out a way. Good teams create passing lanes. Good teams take shots. You don't wait for the perfect opportunity, and it is what it is. So
you find a way.
Yeah, it's he mentioned first time as Sporting Kansas City. This is the first time since 2009 that Sporting Kansas City has started the season 0-2.
Not a fan of that stat. That sucks.
Yeah, this is these are a couple of these stats are from Mike Kuhn from KC Soccer Journal, but it's the third time in the 30-year history that Sporting KC have started 0-2. So it's 2009, 1999, and 2025. Those are the only times. So not great.
Little hope coming at us this weekend, though, with DC drawing their first 2 games. I mean, maybe we can get something done.
Maybe. I was going to do 2 more sad stats.
Love the sad stats.
Last night was only San Jose's second win in Kansas City since 2004. So that sucks. And the other one was announced attendance for the game was 16,277, and that's the first home opener non-sellout since 2007, which was the last year at Arrowhead.
I tell you, if you keep starting games earlier and earlier, it's going to be colder and colder, and you're going to have less and less fans. I mean, that's just...
You're going to have less.
It wasn't exactly warm, bro.
You're going to have less and less fans, and when people don't believe the team's going to win, it makes it harder for them to want to make the trek out to Legends, because that's a long drive for a lot of people, myself included.
I broke out the parka, the hat, the gloves, the scarf. I mean, it was feeling like a wintry day.
Yeah, it was cold. So
there was no 0 degrees against Miami, but I mean, it was cold.
Still chilly. We did get an email that I want to touch on real quick because it talks somewhat about this game from one of our longtime listeners, Joshua Zars, and I'll fly through this as quick as I can. He goes, "Hey guys, hope you're doing well, and Dan's healing up quick. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on the home opener." We talked about that a bunch. He said, "Dismal at best was my impression. There wasn't hype from the crowd or the excitement from the announcing team." He says he misses Hartzell's energy, which, people had varying opinions of Hartzell, but he definitely brought an energy that I don't think has been replaced since he left. He said he tried to find you, couldn't find it. He wanted to see if your experience matched theirs. The atmosphere was lackluster and flat, almost no pregame activity on the plaza, and maybe that's because they were saving it all up for the block party the next day, which he said was very fun and family-friendly. I didn't really walk around all that much, but it was cold, but it was kind of surprising that there wasn't a whole lot going on for it being the home opener.
A lot of people were in line to get their season ticket scarf, which you have so many games to do that. You don't have to do that the first game, but
yeah,
everyone always does, and Marissa went and got ours, so that's fine. But on the plaza, it was sad, but I kind of chalk that up to the cold. Like, they're not going to do anything in the cold.
Probably.
But Blue, the mascot Blue, was just hanging around some silly selfie station looking like the loneliest damn dog I've ever seen in my life because no one was even over there. It was just the dog.
Joshua also mentioned the STM scarf, and he was like, "Yeah, okay, we got the scarf, but it's been a scarf for so long. What else could or should be part of an STM gift?" And he thought about maybe a bobblehead of the team captain, which I understand why it's not that, because they don't know who the captain's going to be far enough in advance of to make the bobbleheads. But
yeah, I'll tell you what I would like. I would like a little variety. They used to do these early bird rewards. If you renew your tickets early enough, you can choose a fun little experience, like pregame down in the field club with the food and stuff, or over on Mazuma Plaza, or the Mazuma Mezzanine, or the Bud Light Landing. Anyways, once you've tried all those experiences, it can get a little stale when you know what kind of offerings there are, which I do got to say, I'm pretty sure there's not a single vegan offering in the stadium anymore. When making the round, not even that shitty vegan sausage that was there last year.
No.
I'm pretty sure it's all gone, bro. You can get a soft pretzel if you want a headache and want to throw up later. That's fine. But it's other than that,
no legitimate vegan entree option.
I don't think so. Because why would there be? You know what I mean? It's no one really cares about that, and it's whatever. I was looking forward to buying something, but now I won't.
Well, if you're a listener and you're a vegan, or you eat vegan food, and you somehow were able to find something, let Dan know. But
let us know. We didn't see nothing.
I mean, their vegan options have been subpar for a while.
Pretty abysmal, but I do think that there should be levels of okay, if you renew your season tickets at this time, we're going to give you a free little 4-pack of SKC coasters, or something other than a scarf.
Go beyond that. I've seen teams, I want to say, was it maybe the Houston Dynamo? I don't remember who it was exactly, but there are some teams that gave full-on replica jerseys to season ticket members.
That's crazy. And Sporting would never do that, or they would have acknowledged us a long time ago.
But when I think when you are in the position that Sporting is in, where it's clear that fan attendance is on the decline, interest is waning, you have to get yes, I know it costs money, but you know what also costs money is losing fans that don't want to come to the games. So find ways to entice people. Give them a $50 food voucher for every season ticket that they order. Find some way to get creative where you have to treat it as a loss leader. Not to be a business guy here, but I mean, Atlanta United, they sent out a season ticket member package that looked like it was a whole vinyl record set that was commemorating things. So there are other teams that are getting creative with this and doing more elaborate things that, yes, cost more money, but isn't just, oh, here's my scarf that says 2025 on it now, STM, when it's the same thing.
And it's never a good scarf, by the way. I mean, Casey Current uses roughneck scarves, which are really good quality. I don't believe Sporting KC uses roughneck.
So it is a bummer. But Joshua, thank you for the email. If anybody else has any thoughts or wants to send in an email to us, nootherpod@gmail.com, by all means, feel free. The one positive thing that I did think happened at San Jose that I do want to talk about is Andreu Fontes was honored at halftime. I had put out a tweet before this and a post on Blue Sky where I was like, look, I will be the first to acknowledge that the on-field results during his 7 years with Sporting Kansas City, mixed at best. Like he had some good years, had some down years. Club didn't win a whole lot in terms of anything major when he was here. But in terms of the type of person he was always very kind, not just to the media, but to the fans. He embraced Kansas City. He lived here for a long time. It's not easy uprooting your life from Europe. So for somebody who's willing to live in another country and dedicate 7 years of their career, especially in soccer, when it's not all that common for that to happen as much as it is in other American sports, I'm glad he at least got a moment of recognition and the fans were able to give him an ovation. I was happy for him.
Yeah, did I see that Johnny was there too and Graham?
I think that's true. I know Graham for sure was there. I think Johnny might have been there too. I mean, they're all friends.
Sure.
So at some point, Johnny will get his moment. Johnny may end up in the Sporting Legends. I've heard reasonable people disagree on that, but I think there's a legitimate case for it. Obviously, Fontes is not at that level.
I wonder if Johnny's going to hang him up.
I mean,
he was started. He ain't playing with anyone else.
Yeah, he was on a Scottish podcast a month or two ago saying he was talking to some MLS teams, but nothing's materialized. So you never know. But Fonte, I believe, is moving back to Spain with his family, so I'm glad he got one more send off. And he walked the whole stadium and applauded every fan who was there. So it was a good send off for him. He's just a nice guy. And you have his jersey, right?
I have his game worn jersey during that
Juneteenth.
It was that Juneteenth jersey that he signed it. Yeah.
So pretty cool. But anyway, just shout out to Fonte again. He's not going to go down as the best center back to ever play for Sporting Kansas City, but he's a really good guy. So, and that's
100%
more important. And now, as you mentioned, we move on to DC United, and DC, they drew with Chicago on the road. 2-2 last week. Christian Benteke, a dynamic goal scorer who was going to pose all sorts of problems for Sporting Kansas City's defense. And then they pulled the equalizer in the 6th minute of second half stoppage time to go 2-2 with Chicago. I mean, we're going to go on the road. We're playing a potential Golden Boot winning striker in Christian Benteke, who is older, but is a very, very talented former Premier League striker. Is DC the best team in the world? No, but neither is Sporting Kansas City. So I can't sit here and say I'm confident going on the road to Audi Field playing DC United next week when they have somebody with Benteke's caliber who's going to be scoring goals.
No, never be confident. Don't be confident about us.
It's just, this is not a team we play every year because they're in the East. We certainly don't go to Audi Field all that much. Have you been to a game at Audi Field?
Yeah, the
DC?
NWSL Championship.
I thought you went there. Yeah, it seems like a cool place. I'd love to get there sometime.
Nah, it's crap.
Really? You didn't like it?
Nah, it wasn't great, man. Walking the concourse, it kind of felt like a high school football game at points. It was weird.
Really? Because it's newer. That's
yeah.
Surprises.
Sure. It just felt weird. The some of the stairs going up there are so steep too. It's like, oh my god,
no.
It's like you're in the upper level at Kauffman Stadium or something.
I wonder if they did it on the cheap because Austin Stadium, St. Louis Stadium, even Minnesota Stadium, Orlando's not all that new anymore, but Orlando. I mean, like some of these newer stadiums, Nashville, like they're very nice and sort of like state of the art soccer specific stadiums. So that's a little surprising that DC is maybe on the lower end of the newer stadiums.
Yeah, I mean it was fine. I don't know.
But all I know is this will be very interesting to see how this goes. Fans are running. They've run out of patience. They just simply don't have time for it anymore. DC has drawn their first 2 games, like you said. They finished in 10th place last year. They had a losing record at home last year. Their defense allowed in 70 goals last year. So they're certainly not a great team. They have a brand new young goalkeeper this year. There are opportunities to score. If Sporting are going to win this game, it's going to have to be a 3-2, a 4-3 type game, because I don't see a situation where Christian Benteke doesn't get a goal in some way. Like I feel like he's too good.
And you think we need to score 3 when we need a penalty kick to score?
That's what I'm saying. I can't sit here and say I'm confident that it's going to happen, because I think realistically at least 2, if not 3 goals for Sporting Kansas City to win this game. And I haven't seen them put it together yet. So I'd be lying and gassing a team that I don't fully believe is going to do it if I sat here and said, oh yeah, Sporting are going to go on the road and they're going to win. If they get points, good. What can't happen though, I don't want points in we're up 2-1 and we give up a last second goal. Like, sure, a road draw would be good, but like sometimes how you do it matters. And if you're in a position to win, or if you're in a position to earn a draw with 10, 15 minutes left, you have to hold on to that, because if you give up another draw, a goal that earns them a draw, or a goal that gives them the win in the last 15 minutes of the game, again, it's going to just feel like more of the same again. So
it's going to feel bad.
But I don't know, man. It's a strange time. I hope and they can turn it around. Again, we're only 2 games into the season, but also I would be lying if I didn't say that I'm not very aware that how many times have we said over the last handful of years, we're only 2 games into the season, we're only 4 games into the season, we're only 10 games into the season, and then suddenly you're at the end of the season and it never turned around. So I think
we're counting points again and you're trying to make the playoffs.
Perfectly reasonable for people to be like, I'm not, we're not at DEFCON 1, but like alarms are sounding. So
100%.
We'll see. Outside of Sporting, I think the most interesting thing that happened to me league-wide this weekend I just wanted to mention is you saw what Houston did with Lionel Messi and his no-show.
Yeah.
This is interesting, because I think this is going to continue to be a problem for Major League Soccer as long as Lionel Messi's here. As Messi did not travel. He was not listed on an injury report. He was not listed as not being available. And then Houston said they found out like the day before that he didn't make the trip. So they just proactively put out a statement or like, hey, just FYI, he's not going to play. We didn't know, but if you're coming to the game, we're going to give everybody who's coming to the game a free ticket for a future Dynamo match, which is, I've seen a lot of mixed reactions. So I'm curious what you think about this strategy.
It's kind of bizarre. I mean, it's a risk you take. I think it's just like anything else, man. It's a risk. And if fans are willing to take the risk, then sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. I guess it's kind of cool that Houston's like, hey, we'll make this right somehow, but it's like they shouldn't have to make it right. It's a player, dude. Let's stop having him be Jesus and idolizing him like this. Like, so he didn't make the trip. Many players don't make the trip sometimes, and you're flabbergasted. You're like, oh, goddamn, Johnny Russell didn't make the trip. Must be injured. It happens.
Yeah. I mean,
so it's weird.
Part of this is the league's own doing, because they've made their entire personality Lionel Messi.
That's what it is. It's annoying. And Inter Miami fans are a little annoyed too. Think that they deserve all this preferential treatment and stuff. It's weird.
I mean, I think my first reaction is good for Houston for being self-aware enough to know that people are going to be mad about it, and they are probably going to catch flack for it, even though it's not their fault. And
they can afford to give out a ticket because they don't sell many.
Right. That stadium's never sold out. So it's not going to cost them money to just be like, hey, come to another game, and then it'll look better for TV when we have more.
We got space. We got the room.
But I did see people be like, this is sort of maybe setting a precedent or encouraging an expectation from other fan bases, because
of course
you didn't buy a ticket that said Houston Dynamo versus Lionel Messi on it. You bought a ticket that said the Houston Dynamo versus Inter Miami, and then
young players don't make the trip.
And you saw the Houston Dynamo versus Inter Miami. So it's
so stupid, dude.
This is something that the NBA is
no dumb.
NBA's been dealing with this with load management, where somebody's like, oh, I bought a ticket to go see the Lakers, and LeBron decided to sit just because load management. The Lakers aren't giving out free tickets to future games. It sucks. I know, but it is what it is.
It's a risk, dude. WWE advertises what wrestlers are going to be at events. Well, guess what? Card subject to change.
Cody
Like,
Rhodes
not
said he was going to be here in Kansas City last year, and he was not here.
card subject to change. Like that's what they should advertise Leo Messi and say roster subject to change.
Yeah.
I don't see the issue here.
But it was interesting. So it was I thought it was interesting that Houston went that route. But
Yeah.
is there anything else that caught your attention from the week before we sign off?
Oh, your dog's telling us to get the hell out of here. Okay, we're going. You watch the Oscars at all?
I did.
Fun show.
Conan did a good job.
Did you watch on Hulu?
I did. And then I switched over to YouTube TV when they fucked up the ending.
That was insane. I was like, wow, I guess I'm going to abc.com on my phone.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Have you seen Anora? Because it's a great movie.
I haven't. I need to. I know. People are real good.
It's coming on Hulu in like 2 weeks. Very fun. And what else was there? Adrian Brody? Not a big enough deal to warrant a 5.5 minute speech. I'll get the hell off the stage.
The longest speech in the history of Oscars acceptance speeches.
Why did he think? And then he cuts off the cutoff music. He says, no, turn the music off. I've been here before. And
That's
it's like,
wild.
you pretentious fuck.
I've been here before. I'll wrap it up soon. And then he talked for like another 3 minutes. And I'm not just making a joke. It was literally the longest acceptance speech in the
Yes.
history of the Oscars.
Your dog's playing us off. So let's get the hell out of here before she loses her mind.
Thank you all so much for listening. I know the season's been rough, but we appreciate you sticking with us. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know where you're at, how you're dealing with all these losses. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram and Blue Sky at No Other Pod, at Dan Kooser, at JCMac03. Leave us that 5-star rating and review. Shoot us an email, nootherpod@gmail.com, or check us out on YouTube, KCSN Soccer, or via the KC Sports Network app. But until next time, he's Dan. I'm Jimmy. We'll catch y'all later. See ya.
We're off to DC.